Today is Thursday, October 24th, 2024, and the title of this message is The Power of Prayer. Matthew 17:20 and 21 says, He said to them, Because of the littleness of your faith, that is, your lack of firmly relying trust. For truly I say to you, if you have faith that is living like a grain of mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, Move from here to yonder place, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you. But this kind does not go out except by fasting and prayer. Mark 9:14 through 29 says, And when they came to the 9 disciples, they saw a great crowd around them and scribes questioning and disputing with them. And immediately all the crowd, when they saw Jesus returning from the holy mount, his face and person yet glistening, they were greatly amazed and ran up to him and greeted him. And he asked them about, What are you questioning and discussing with them? And one of the throng replied to him, Teacher, I brought my son to you, for he has a dumb spirit, and wherever it lays hold of him, so as to make him its own, it dashes him down and convulses him, and he foams at the mouth and grinds his teeth, and he falls into a motionless stupor and is wasting away. And I asked your disciples to drive it out, and they were not able to do it. And he answered them, O unbelieving generation, without any faith, how long shall I have to do with you? How long am I to bear with you? Bring him to me. So they brought the boy to him. And when the spirit saw him, at once it completely convulsed the boy, and he fell to the ground and kept rolling about, foaming at the mouth. And Jesus asked his father, How long has he had this? And he answered, From the time he was a little boy. And it has often thrown him both into fire and into water, intending to kill him. But if you can do anything, do have pity on us and help us. And Jesus said, You say to me, if you can do anything. Why all things can be are possible to him who believes. At once the father of the boy gave an eager, piercing, inarticulate cry with tears, and he said, Lord, I believe. Constantly, help my weakness of faith. But when Jesus noticed that a crowd of people came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, You dumb and deaf spirit, I charge you to come out of him and never go to him again. And after giving a hoarse, clamoring, fear-stricken shriek of anguish and convulsing him terribly, it came out, and the boy lay pale and motionless like a corpse, so that many of them said, He is dead. But Jesus took a strong grip of his hand and began lifting him up, and he stood. And when he had gone indoors, his disciples asked him privately, Why could not we drive it out? And he replied to them, This kind cannot be driven out by anything but fasting and prayer. Luke 2:35 through 40 says, And a sword will pierce through your own soul also, that the secret thoughts and purposes of many hearts may be brought out and disclosed. And there was also a prophetess, Anna, the daughter of Phanuel, of the tribe of Asher. She was very old, having lived with her husband 7 years from her maidhood. And as a widow, even for 84 years, she did not go out from the temple enclosure. but was worshiping night and day with fasting and prayer. And she too came up at that same hour, and she returned thanks to God and talked of Jesus to all who were looking for the redemption, deliverance of Jerusalem. And when they had done everything according to the law of the Lord, they went back into Galilee to their own town, Nazareth. And the child grew and became strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and the grace, favor, and spiritual blessing of God was upon him. There is power in prayer. There is power in prayer. Earnest prayer, sincere prayer, get down on my knees and ugly cry prayer, confess my sins, plead for forgiveness prayer. There is power in prayer. The reason why I know there is power in prayer is because when I'm at my darkest, when I am at my worst, when I am at my most depressed and dejected, it is so hard for me to pray. It is so hard for me to pick up my Bible because in that moment, I don't feel worthy. In that moment, it is hard for me to speak. In that moment, it feels like there is an invisible 300-pound weight holding me down. It feels like there is an invisible tape wrapped around my mouth, preventing me to speak. It feels like my hands are tired. I feel caged in an invisible cell when I'm down at my lowest. When I am fully withdrawn in that dark place by myself, there is power in prayer. I have seen in my life how quickly, how swiftly prayer can change things. There is power in the Word of God. I can't tell you how many times when I finally got the strength to pick up that Bible, to open to a page and read a word that was so needed in that moment. And I was just moved, so moved that tears began to flow from my eyes. And I felt cleansed through my tears. I felt renewed through my tears. Opening that page and reading from that book felt like I was given admittance to a new chapter in my life, to a new beginning in my life, to a new awakening in my life. There is power in prayer. There's a saying, a family that prays together stays together. A house divided will fall. There is power in prayer. We know it. We see it. How many of us have parents who taught us when we were young to say your grace, to pray over your food before you eat, to say your prayers, to pray over your soul before you go to sleep? How many of us, when we dropped something on the ground, we kissed it up to God? We blessed it up to God to cleanse that thing and we ate it. How many of us had praying mamas and praying grandmas? And when they prayed, it did something. It moved something. It changed something. It healed something. There is power in prayer. And somebody needs to hear this. Somebody needs to know this. Somebody needs to be reminded there is power in prayer. Pray over your house. Pray over your soul. Pray over your spirit. Pray over your family. Pray over your husband. Pray over your wife, over your children. Pray over your career. Pray over your passion. Pray over your gifts. Pray over your peace. Pray over your wisdom. Pray for guidance. Pray for discernment. Pray for strength. Pray for patience because you're going to need it. You're going to need it to pray for healing. Pray for healing because everybody needs it right now. Pray for this world because there are a lot of sick people in this world. There are a lot of hurting people in this world. There are a lot of people in this world that don't have anyone praying for them, that don't have anyone praying over them. There is power in prayer. And I'm going to tell you something that I found out. In the Bible, it says, give me 3 days to rebuild this temple. I thank God. I thank God for someone who came into my life and taught me how to fast. But I was relieved when I found out that it's in this word. The word confirms that there is power in fasting and praying. It is true that there is power in fasting and praying, and fasting increases that power. That's why you hear people say to fast and pray. God is a good God. God is so merciful. He says that all you need is faith the size as a mustard seed. Imagine. That's why people can't comprehend how somebody can be so downtrodden. Somebody can be so down and out, and then miraculously, in the blink of an eye, all of that can turn around because there is power in prayer.